In a time when humanity's flaws were laid bare, three alien entities known as the Great Three arrive, casting their immense triangular vessels across the skies, uninvited and unyielding. With a single challenge to prove your worth, Earth stood on the edge of cosmic judgment. The Great Three, embodiments of knowledge, strength, and unity, set trials that tested humanity's potential to its core. Knowledge, strength, and unity were put to the test, and though humanity's resolve shone through, it was clear they were far from perfect. The Great Three left behind a daunting message: 1,000 years to prove their worth or face the consequences. The clock was ticking, and humanity now faced its greatest challenge. Could they overcome their flaws, unite, and rise to the stars? Or would they squander the chance given to them? The fate of Earth hung in the balance, a fragile hope in the vast expanse of the universe. The sky was consumed by the shadow of massive triangular vessels, each one larger than any human-made structure, blocking out the sun and casting an eerie silence over the earth. These ships were unlike anything humanity had ever seen, their surfaces gleaming and otherworldly, reflecting the distant stars with an unsettling clarity. As they hovered in the atmosphere, a deep sense of foreboding spread across the globe. The world stood still in awe and fear, unsure of their purpose or intent. There were no warnings, no signs of what was to come. They appeared suddenly, unannounced, and without any form of communication or explanation. The ships were unlike anything humanity had encountered. There were no weapons or visible markings, no signs of aggression or malice. Their sheer size and silent presence suggested they were not here for war. Yet there was something undeniably powerful and commanding about them. The presence of these mysterious beings cast an immediate shadow over Earth's future. The world's governments, scientists, and military forces scrambled to understand who or what had come to Earth and what their intentions were. From the ships, a signal pulsed through every communication device on the planet. It was a single, unified message, perfectly translated into every human language. The voice was not human, yet it resonated with an intelligence far beyond anything Earth had ever encountered. It was clear that these beings were not visitors in the traditional sense, nor were they conquerors or explorers. They were something more. The message conveyed their purpose. They were judges, observers of the potential for harmony and growth across the galaxy, and Earth was now under their scrutiny. The Great Three, as they would come to be known, were not individuals but entities who manifested through shimmering avatars of light and sound. These avatars communicated in a way that transcended language, their tones vibrating directly within the minds of those who listened. It was not a voice in the traditional sense, but rather a chorus of harmonized tones that carried both meaning and weight. These beings were not interested in Earth's politics or petty squabbles. They were concerned with something much greater: the potential of humanity to exist as part of a greater galactic community. For centuries, advanced civilizations across the galaxy had worshipped these beings, believing them to be near gods. And now, Earth has caught their attention. The question was not whether humanity was capable of greatness, but whether humanity could overcome its inherent flaws. It was a test, but not one that could be evaded. The Great Three had come to assess whether humanity could meet the standards necessary to be a part of the larger cosmic order. Their arrival was a challenge, and it was clear that humanity's response would shape the future of the species. Humanity's fate now lay in the balance. The Great Three were not interested in wars, treaties, or alliances. They were not here to intervene in Earth's struggles. Instead, they sought to understand if humanity could prove its worth in more profound ways. There was no malice in their arrival, no intent to destroy or conquer. They were not saviors, but judges, and their scrutiny would test humanity's most fundamental qualities. This was no ordinary meeting with extraterrestrial beings. It was a test of survival, growth, and potential. As the massive triangular ships hovered above the Earth, the sense of inevitability grew. Nations of the world paused in collective anticipation, waiting for the beings to reveal their intentions. Despite their silence, The message was clear. Humanity had been noticed, and now it must demonstrate its worth. The great unknown was no longer a distant concept. It was present, hovering in the sky. It was no longer a question of whether the Earth was alone in the universe, but whether it was ready to join the galactic community. In the following days, humanity would face its greatest challenge yet. The Great Three had arrived to test not only Earth's technological advancements, but the very soul of humanity. They were here to see if Earth was capable of overcoming its flaws, whether humanity could rise above its divisions and fears, and whether it could unite for a higher purpose. The world would hold its breath as humanity's true potential was put to the ultimate test. A sudden, unified message echoed through every communication device on Earth. It was not a private transmission, nor a scattered signal. It was broadcast across every medium, from televisions to radios to smartphones. The message came through in every language, as if designed to ensure that no one could misunderstand its meaning. The voice was clear and commanding, yet there was no source, no physical being to attribute it to. The tone was not one of kindness or threat, but of cold, calculated observation. It spoke directly to humanity, addressing the planet as a whole, and its words carried an overwhelming weight. The Great Three, the entities that had appeared from the sky, had made their intentions known. The message itself was succinct but profound. We are the Great Three. Your species stands at the precipice. Prove your worth. These words reverberated in the minds of all who heard them, leaving an immediate and lasting impact. There was no hint of emotion in the voice, no empathy, no anger. It was simply a statement, an announcement, and a challenge. The message wasn't framed as a question or even a request. It was an ultimatum, a demand that humanity had no choice but to face. The weight of it was like a heavy hand pressing down on the world, and for the first time, the planet's inhabitants realized that their place in the universe was not guaranteed. The world stood still as the message spread. There was no misunderstanding. Humanity now knew the stakes. Governments and military leaders scrambled to analyze the words, trying to find meaning in the brief statement. Scientists, philosophers, and theologians were drawn into the debate, attempting to understand what these beings, these Great Three, expected from humanity. Some viewed it as a test, while others feared it was an execution. But one thing was clear: humanity was being watched, and how it responded would determine its future. In the days following the message, discussions ignited everywhere. News stations reported live on the events, each offering its own interpretation of what the Great Three had meant. Some speculated that the beings were peaceful, hoping to share knowledge or offer a gift. Others feared a coming invasion, a hostile takeover of Earth by these cosmic entities. Across every corner of the globe, people speculated, debated, and panicked, each grappling with the enormity of the challenge placed before them. Yet, amidst the uncertainty, one thing remained constant. The world was united in its confusion and fear. In the absence of clarity, governments quickly convened to form alliances, pooling their resources and knowledge to prepare for what was to come. There was no formal declaration of war, nor any outward signs of aggression from the Great Three, but the tension was palpable. It wasn't clear what "prove your worth" meant in practical terms. Was it a test of technological progress, of strength, or something more intangible, like morality or wisdom? Every nation feared that failure to answer would mean the end of their civilization, and so they turned to their brightest minds for solutions. As the days stretched on, scientists worked around the clock to analyze the message. Was it a challenge of intellect, of technological capacity? Or was it something deeper, an existential test of humanity's potential as a species? Leaders from every corner of the world began to gather in secret, trying to decipher what was at stake. Meanwhile, citizens looked to their governments for guidance, hoping for some sign of leadership, some clue as to how to respond. The message had come without warning, and now humanity was thrust into a race to understand the nature of the challenge placed before them. Despite the global efforts to understand the nature of the challenge, no clear answer emerged. Some experts speculated that humanity's survival was at risk, while others felt that the message was a strange form of encouragement, pushing humanity to overcome its flaws and reach a higher potential. But even as hope mingled with fear, there was one undeniable truth. Earth was being given a chance, and it was up to humanity to rise to the occasion. There was no way to ignore the challenge. It had been laid bare before them, and the whole world would need to come together to confront it. For the first time in human history, every nation, every community, and every individual realized that their future was not their own. The Great Three were not interested in politics, not in taking sides or picking favorites. They were offering a simple, yet terrifying challenge. Humanity had to prove itself worthy of the stars, to demonstrate that it was capable of greatness. The question was no longer if humanity could rise to the occasion, but whether it would. The message had been sent, and now the world awaited its next move, knowing that the path forward would require unity, intelligence, and strength. On the first day of the trials, the Great Three manifested before humanity as shimmering avatars of light and sound. These beings did not appear in physical forms, but instead as ethereal projections, their shapes constantly shifting and pulsing with radiant energy. Each avatar represented a different aspect of the being's cosmic roles. Olorus, the arbiter of knowledge, Kraith, the sentinel of strength, and Nithra, the emissary of unity. These manifestations radiated an undeniable presence, filling the skies with their luminous forms and sending a profound message to humanity. They were here, and they were watching. Olorus, the arbiter of knowledge, was the first to address humanity. His voice was not one of sound, but of harmony, resonating directly within the minds of those who listened. The tones were smooth, carrying the weight of ages and wisdom, yet they were calm and deliberate. Olorus began by highlighting humanity's paradox. He acknowledged that humans had the potential for greatness, possessing incredible intelligence, creativity, and capability. But he also pointed out the contradictions within human civilization, the failure to apply knowledge in ways that would benefit the greater good. The challenge was clear. Humanity needed to demonstrate not just intellectual prowess, but the wisdom to use that knowledge responsibly. The world's brightest minds, from every corner of the globe, were called upon to meet this challenge. In Geneva, the greatest scientists, engineers, and philosophers gathered to present humanity's most significant achievements. They showcased groundbreaking advancements in fields like medicine, physics, artificial intelligence, and space exploration. Quantum communication systems were demonstrated that promised to revolutionize human connectivity. Sustainable energy technologies were shared, offering the potential to power entire continents without harming the environment. It was a showcase of the best of human innovation, a visual testament to the boundless creativity of the species. Yet, as the presentations unfolded, Olorus remained unmoved. His avatar pulsed softly, a signal that the answers were not enough. Humanity had proven its ability to innovate, but that alone was not enough. Knowledge, Olorus explained, was not just about technological advancements or inventions. It was about how that knowledge was applied. The true measure of wisdom lay in humanity's capacity to wield its discoveries in ways that could improve not just individual lives, but the collective well-being of the planet. The greatest minds had demonstrated what humanity could do, but they had not shown how humanity would use that knowledge to overcome its flaws. The message was not one of condemnation, but of challenge. Olorus did not dismiss humanity's achievements. Rather, he questioned whether the species was capable of handling the power it had unlocked. Could humans rise above their greed, their divisions, and their short-sightedness? Could they use their knowledge to create a world of peace, harmony, and sustainability? These were the questions that the Great Three posed. Not merely, what can you do, but how will you do it, and who will benefit from it? The representatives of Earth returned to their discussions, now focused not only on advancing technology, but on the ethical application of that knowledge. The challenge presented by Olorus had forced humanity to confront uncomfortable truths. It was not enough to be innovative. The real challenge was to ensure that innovation would be used to solve the planet's greatest issues: hunger, disease, inequality, and environmental destruction. It became clear that humanity's future would depend on how it could apply its intellect to create a world that reflected the ideals of peace, unity, and sustainability. Meanwhile, the rest of the world looked on with a sense of urgency. Governments, organizations, and citizens began to realize that this challenge was not just an intellectual test, but a moral one. The greatest minds had done their part, but humanity at large needed to change its priorities. This was a call to action, to stop exploiting resources for short-term gain and instead focus on building a future that ensured the survival and prosperity of all life on Earth. The Great Three had asked humanity to prove that it could balance knowledge with wisdom, that it could use its advancements for the greater good. As the day came to a close, Oloris's final message echoed through the minds of all who had heard him. Your knowledge is impressive, but it is incomplete. It is not enough to create. You must learn to yield your creations wisely. Show us your understanding of the consequences, your awareness of the interconnectedness of all life. Prove that you can be stewards of your own world before you reach beyond it. With those final words, Oloris's avatar shimmered and dissipated, leaving behind a lingering sense of challenge and anticipation. The first trial had ended, but humanity's journey had just begun. The true test of its worth was only beginning to unfold. On the second day of the trials, the Great Three turned their focus to another crucial aspect of humanity's potential: strength. Crayf, the sentinel of strength, manifested in a form that radiated raw power, an imposing presence that echoed through the minds of all who encountered it. Unlike Oloris, whose voice was calm and measured, Crayf's was a deep, resonant sound, like the beating of a war drum, reverberating with the force of an ancient force of nature. His challenge was direct and unwavering. Your survival is written in scars. Show us your strength. Humanity, ever eager to prove its worth, interpreted the challenge in the most immediate way, through physical trials. The world's greatest athletes, soldiers, and adventurers took part in rigorous displays of human endurance and power. From the icy peaks of Mount Everest to the depths of the Mariana Trench, people tested their limits, demonstrating feats of strength that pushed the boundaries of human ability. The world watched as humans climbed, swam, ran, and lifted, each task more grueling than the last. Every display of endurance was met with a palpable sense of urgency, as though humanity needed to prove itself in every aspect of physicality. Yet, despite these impressive feats, Crayf's form remained unmoved, unyielding. He did not express approval, nor did he show signs of satisfaction. The challenge he presented was not about physical strength alone. As his avatar shimmered, he spoke again, his voice like thunder in the minds of those listening. Strength is not merely muscle or endurance. It is the will to overcome. The humans' attempts to demonstrate their physical prowess were not enough. Crayf's words emphasized a deeper meaning behind strength. Strength was not only about physical power, but about the resilience to endure hardship, the will to fight against all odds, and the ability to confront adversity with unwavering determination. This revelation shifted the focus of humanity's efforts. The initial physical trials had demonstrated the species' capacity to endure and push through pain, but this was not enough to satisfy the judgment of the Great Three. Humanity was now called to show a deeper form of strength. The world's best engineers and pilots, understanding the true nature of the trial, began to think outside the box. They realized that to truly prove strength, they needed to build something that could face an opponent more formidable than their physical limits, something that could face a test of ingenuity, endurance, and courage. And so, the Zenith Titan was born. This enormous machine, a marvel of human engineering, was designed to face one of life's own constructs, a formidable, otherworldly creation that embodied the alien being's concept of strength. It wasn't just a mechanical feat. The machine was a testament to human ingenuity, crafted with the combined efforts of the best minds in engineering, physics, and technology. The Zenith Titan represented more than just physical power. It was the embodiment of human determination, creativity, and the will to face the unknown. For hours, the battle between the Zenith Titan and Kraft's construct raged above the Pacific Ocean. The air crackled with energy as the two forces clashed, each strike a test of human will and invention against an alien force perfected through cosmic design. The battle was fierce, with the human machines suffering damage and setbacks, but the engineers had built it to endure, to overcome. It was a brutal contest of endurance and strategy, and humanity fought with everything it had. With each passing minute, the tide of the battle seemed to shift, and the humans were not merely fighting against an alien force but proving their ability to adapt, to persevere. Finally, after hours of intense struggle, the Zenith Titan emerged victorious, albeit narrowly. The victory was hard-earned, and the human pilots and engineers had pushed themselves to the brink to achieve it. Croft's voice echoed through the minds of humanity once more, but this time, it was softer, tinged with a newfound respect. "You fight with ferocity," he said, "but strength without unity crumbles." The lesson was clear. Strength alone was not enough. Physical power could achieve victory, but without the cohesion and support of a greater whole, it would fall short. Humanity has demonstrated its ability to endure, to push against the odds, and to triumph in the face of adversity. Yet, Kraft's words carried a deeper meaning. The battle had been won, but the lesson was about more than just victory. It was about recognizing that strength must be paired with unity and purpose. Without these qualities, even the greatest individual strength would ultimately fail. The second trial had ended, but the path to true strength required more than just brute force. It required a deeper understanding of resilience, cooperation, and the power of the collective will. The third day of the trials brought with it a new challenge, one that tested humanity in a way that no physical feat or intellectual breakthrough could. Nithra, the emissary of unity, manifested before the people of Earth with a voice that was soft and gentle, like the rustling of leaves in a calm breeze. Despite the subtlety of her presence, there was an undeniable strength in her words. "Division plagues your kind," she said. "Show us your unity." The challenge was not about individual capability, nor was it about strength in the conventional sense. It was about humanity's ability to come together as one, to transcend its divisions, and work collectively for a greater good. In response, humanity found itself facing an immense challenge. War still raged in various parts of the world, governments were entrenched in mistrust, and deep cultural divides persisted. The wounds of history had not healed, and nations remained more divided than united. There was no easy solution, no immediate way to resolve these long-standing conflicts. Yet, the pressure of the moment was undeniable. The Great Three had given humanity a task that seemed insurmountable. Could the world truly come together, despite the forces that had kept it apart for so long? In those critical hours, a rare and unexpected shift began to occur. Leaders who had once refused to even sit at the same table started communicating with one another, realizing that the survival of humanity itself depended on cooperation. The urgency of the situation transcended national interests and petty rivalries. Nations that had been adversaries for centuries recognized that they were facing a cosmic challenge far greater than any conflict between them. In the face of this reality, they chose to pool their resources, their knowledge, and their people. The divisions that had once seemed insurmountable began to dissolve in the face of a common, universal challenge. At first, the collaboration was awkward, tentative. Political leaders, military officials, and scientists who had been trained to view the world in terms of national interests found themselves sharing their secrets, their technologies, and their plans. There was no longer any time for infighting, no space for old grudges. What had been impossible only days before was suddenly within reach. A global unity born not of idealism, but of necessity. It was a fragile, tentative unity, but it was unity nonetheless. Humanity had begun to understand that it was no longer just a collection of competing nations. It was a species on the brink of something much larger. The next step in this unprecedented collaboration was the construction of a symbol, something tangible that would demonstrate humanity's newfound unity to the Great Three. A monument, visible from the heavens themselves, would serve as a symbol of humanity's collective will and determination to overcome its divisions. Architects, engineers, laborers, and artists from every corner of the earth came together to work on this immense project. The monument was not a structure designed to impress with its grandeur alone. It was a symbol of the cooperation that had made its creation possible. In the heart of the Sahara Desert, under the harshest conditions, the workers toiled day and night, overcoming not just the physical challenges of building such a massive structure, but also the ideological differences that had once seemed insurmountable. As the monument began to take shape, it became clear that this was no ordinary structure. The tower was spiraling, intricate, and adorned with symbols representing every culture, creed, and nation. Each stone, each piece of metal, was a testament to the labor and shared vision of a world that had, for once, set aside its differences for the sake of survival. By the dawn of the fourth day, the monument was completed. The light of the rising sun illuminated its spiraling form, casting long shadows across the desert. When the first rays of light touched the tower, Nithra's avatar shimmered, her voice soft but unmistakably clear. Unity is fragile, but you have shown its possibility. The monument stood as a testament not just to human engineering, but to human will. The structures that had divided humanity for so long, national borders, cultural differences, ideological divisions, have been put aside to create something that symbolized the potential of what humanity could achieve when it worked together. It was not perfection, but it was a beginning, a step toward healing the wounds that had plagued the world. Nithra's words carried a weight that would echo in the hearts of humanity long after the trial had ended. "You have shown us the possibility of unity," she said. "But understand this, unity is fragile. It can be shattered in an instant. You must nurture it, protect it, and ensure that it does not fade with time." The message was clear. Humanity had made progress, but the true challenge of unity was just beginning. It was not enough to simply come together for a brief moment. The real test would be maintaining that unity, preserving it, and ensuring that it was not lost in the years to come. Humanity had taken the first step, but the journey to true unity had only just begun. After the trials of knowledge, strength, and unity, the earth held its collective breath as the great three withdrew to their triangular vessels. The silence that followed was heavy, thick with anticipation. The great three had judged humanity, and now the world awaited their verdict. Hours stretched into an agonizing wait as nations paused, their citizens anxiously watching the skies, wondering what the future would hold. Has humanity done enough to prove its worth? Or would the great three find them lacking, unfit for inclusion in the galactic fold? When the avatars of the great three returned, their presence filled the atmosphere once again. The people of Earth stood ready, waiting for the judgment that would determine their future. It was Olorus, the arbiter of knowledge, who spoke first. His voice, which had once been calm and measured, now carried the weight of centuries of wisdom. "You are flawed," he said, addressing humanity directly. "Prone to violence, short-sightedness, and division. You are not a perfect species, but you are also capable of greatness. Your resilience, your capacity for invention, and your ability to unite when pressed have shown us something remarkable." Though Olorus had acknowledged humanity's flaws, his words were not entirely harsh. There was recognition of humanity's potential, a glimmer of hope. It was clear that the great three had not come to Earth simply to judge. They had come to assess, to challenge, and to ultimately offer a chance for growth. Olorus continued, pointing out that humanity's resilience had impressed them. Despite the conflict and division, humans had proven their ability to rise in moments of crisis, to find ways to collaborate and overcome. It was this potential that gave hope for the future. Craif, the sentinel of strength, spoke next, his voice reverberating like a deep drumbeat. "Your strength is raw," he stated, acknowledging the power that humanity had demonstrated in the trials. "Your potential is immense, but you teeter on the edge of destruction." Craif's tone was stern, but there was a certain respect in his words. Humanity had shown strength, yes, but it had also demonstrated that this strength could easily be misdirected. The raw energy humanity possessed could either fuel progress or lead to ruin. Craif emphasized that while humanity's resilience was impressive, it would require more than just power to survive and thrive. It would need wisdom and cooperation to ensure that strength was used wisely. The most profound words, however, came from Nithra, the emissary of unity. Her voice, soft as ever, was filled with a quiet but undeniable authority. "We have judged you," she said. "You are not yet ready to join the galactic fold, but neither shall we condemn you." These words hung in the air like a weight. The people of Earth had been holding their breath, waiting for a verdict, and now they had their answer. Humanity was not yet ready for the stars. But there was hope. The Great Three were not rejecting humanity outright. They were offering a second chance, a chance to grow, to learn, and to unify further before they would return. This verdict, while not what humanity had hoped for, was not a rejection. It was a challenge to improve, to evolve, and to demonstrate that they could overcome their flaws and reach their full potential. The Great Three gave humanity 1,000 years, a millennium, to prove that it could overcome its divisions, to show that it was capable of true unity, and to demonstrate that it could wield its knowledge and strength for the greater good. The message was clear. Humanity had time, but it was not infinite. The clock was ticking. As the avatars of the Great Three began to withdraw into their massive triangular vessels, which hovered above the Earth, there was a sense of both relief and trepidation. The moment had passed, but the challenge remained. The ships ascended, vanishing into the stars as mysteriously as they had appeared. The trial was over, but humanity's true test had just begun. The Earth was left in silence, with the weight of the Great Three's words lingering in the air. The world had received a reprieve, but there was no certainty about what the future would hold. In the aftermath, the leaders of the world stood before the newly built Monument of Unity, a symbol of humanity's progress in overcoming its divisions. The shadow of the towering structure stretched across the desert, a reminder of the possibility that had been demonstrated. But there were no speeches, no grand statements, no celebrations. There was only a quiet understanding that the time had come for humanity to act. The Great Three had not given them a second chance out of pity or favor. They had given humanity a purpose. The challenge now was to prove worthy of that purpose, to rise to the occasion, and to use the next 1,000 years to prove that humanity could overcome its flaws and reach for the stars. In this moment of reflection, humanity understood that the future was not guaranteed. The Great Three had shown them what was possible, but the path to that future would require hard work, perseverance, and the courage to confront the deepest flaws of their species. Humanity had been given 1,000 years, but it would need to make every moment count. The clock was ticking, and the stars, once distant and mysterious, were now within reach. The question was, would humanity be ready to answer the call when the Great Three returned? In the aftermath of the Great Three's visit, humanity faced a new, daunting reality. The judgment had been passed, and the verdict was clear. Earth had been given 1,000 years to prove its worth. While the verdict was not a condemnation, it was not the triumph humanity had hoped for. The Great Three had recognized the potential in humanity, but had also seen the deep flaws that continued to hinder progress. Now, the fate of the species rested in its ability to rise above its divisions, its violence, and its short-sightedness. The clock was ticking, and the challenge was immense. The leaders of the world, standing before the Monument of Unity, understood the magnitude of the task ahead. The monument, built as a symbol of cooperation, now stood as a reminder of what humanity had achieved together in the face of adversity. Yet, its towering form also cast a shadow, a reminder of the fragility of the unity that had been demonstrated. It had been an unprecedented moment, but it was only the beginning. The true challenge lay in maintaining that unity, in overcoming the deep divisions that had existed for centuries. The monument could not stand alone. It had to be supported by continued efforts toward global cooperation. In the days following the Great Three's departure, nations began to reflect on what had been learned during the trials. Governments that had once been entrenched in conflict now found themselves facing a common enemy: their own flaws. There was a growing realization that the path to a united humanity would not be easy, but it was possible. The lessons from the trials, the importance of knowledge, strength, and unity had to be internalized, not just for a moment but for the long term. Leaders began to convene, not just to discuss politics or economics, but to consider how humanity could move forward together, overcoming the divisions that had long defined the world. At the same time, the people of Earth were left to grapple with their own place in this cosmic drama. The trials had forced them to confront the best and worst aspects of their species. On one hand, humanity had demonstrated incredible ingenuity, strength, and unity in moments of crisis. On the other hand, the Great Three had pointed out the flaws that still lingered: violence, division, and a tendency to prioritize short-term gain over long-term survival. For many, this moment of reflection was a wake-up call, an invitation to question not just their place in the universe, but their responsibilities to one another as a species. The future of humanity was no longer an abstract concept. It was a tangible goal that had to be worked toward day by day, year by year. As the years passed, a global movement began to take shape. Efforts to tackle poverty, inequality, and environmental degradation gained new momentum. Humanity had been given a time frame, 1,000 years, but it was understood that this time could easily be squandered if not used wisely. The threat of ecological collapse, nuclear war, and social unrest loomed large, but so did the promise of progress. The technological advancements humanity had showcased during the trials were now being put to practical use. Sustainable energy, medical breakthroughs, and advances in artificial intelligence were all brought to bear on the problems that had once seemed insurmountable. The world, though still imperfect, began to take its first steps toward fulfilling the promise that had been shown during the trials. Yet, for all the progress that was made, the task of unity remained the most difficult. Nations still struggled with trust issues, and old conflicts simmered beneath the surface. There were moments when it seemed that humanity would once again be pulled into division and conflict, as old prejudices and hatreds reared their ugly heads. But the shadow of the Great Three's judgment loomed over these moments, reminding humanity of the stakes. Each setback was met with the understanding that the clock was still ticking. There was no room for complacency. The 1,000 years could pass in the blink of an eye, and if humanity failed to prove itself, the consequences could be dire. The challenge of unity was not just a political or social one. It was deeply personal. As individuals, people were called to examine their own beliefs, biases, and behaviors. The lessons of the Great Three had forced humanity to look inward, to confront the ways in which fear, greed, and selfishness had shaped their world. If the species was to fulfill its potential, each person had to contribute to the collective effort. In communities around the world, people began to forge new connections, building bridges between cultures and ideologies. It was not always easy, and the path forward was fraught with challenges, but there was a growing recognition that humanity could not move forward as fragmented individuals. It had to move forward as a united whole. As the millennium stretched on, humanity slowly began to shift its focus. No longer was the question of whether the Great Three would return the primary concern. Instead, the focus turned to the responsibility of the species itself. Would humanity rise to the occasion? Would it shed its old divisions and build a future worthy of the stars? The question was no longer about external judgment. It was about internal transformation. The Great Three had given humanity a chance, and now it was up to humanity to make the most of it. The journey was far from over, but the first steps had been taken. And for the first time in history, humanity could look toward the future with a sense of hope, determination, and the knowledge that it had the power to shape its own destiny. The final moment of reflection after the Great Three's departure marked the beginning of a new era for humanity. The 1,000-year window they had been given to prove their worth was not simply an arbitrary time frame. It was a monumental opportunity. The Earth, which had stood at the precipice of cosmic judgment, now had a chance to rise from its divisions and flaws. Yet, The reality of this chance weighed heavily on humanity. It wasn't just about surviving for the next millennium. It was about growing, learning, and evolving in ways that would guarantee their place among the stars. The Monument of Unity stood as a powerful symbol, but it was more than just a physical structure. It embodied the spirit of what humanity could achieve when it worked together. For the first time, nations that had once been bitter rivals shared a common goal, something larger than their differences. However, as they stood before it, the leaders of the world knew that building the monument was just the beginning. The real test would be in how humanity could continue to evolve in unity, not just for a moment, but for the long stretch of time that would follow. Maintaining that sense of cooperation would require ongoing effort, commitment, and, most importantly, understanding that unity was fragile and could easily be undone. As the years began to pass, a global shift occurred. The collective awareness of the Great Three's judgment served as a powerful motivator. People and governments alike began to recognize that the status quo, the divisions, the conflicts, and the competition between nations could no longer stand in the way of their survival. Humanity had been shown a glimpse of its potential during the trials, and now the challenge was to turn that potential into reality. Scientists, engineers, and world leaders, once separated by politics and interests, now collaborated on solutions to the most pressing global issues, from climate change to inequality. Technological innovations that had once been dreamed of were now becoming tangible, but the focus was not on individual gain. It was on the collective good. Despite the progress, the path forward was anything but simple. The divisions that had plagued humanity for centuries did not vanish overnight. Old conflicts resurfaced, and moments of distrust threatened the fragile unity that had been built. Yet, each time humanity stumbled, the lessons of the Great Three served as a reminder of what was at stake. The realization that they were being watched, not by an external force, but by the very potential of the universe, was a powerful motivator. Humanity knew that they could not afford to squander the 1,000 years they had been granted. Every setback had to be met with renewed effort and determination. This pressure began to shape a new sense of responsibility in the people of Earth. They were no longer just citizens of individual nations, but a part of a larger whole, a species striving for something greater. The lessons of knowledge, strength, and unity had been integrated into every facet of life. Education systems began to emphasize not just the mastery of subjects, but the development of global citizenship. People were taught not only how to think critically, but how to work with others across cultures and borders. In this way, humanity began to understand that their survival depended not on individual advancement, but on the progress of all. The leaders who had once been separated by national interests now began to see themselves as stewards of the Earth, responsible for ensuring that the species as a whole would thrive. International agreements on climate change, resource distribution, and technological development became the norm, rather than the exception. Although challenges remained, issues of poverty, inequality, and environmental degradation continued to persist. Humanity now faced them with a renewed sense of purpose. The Monument of Unity was no longer just a symbol of what had been achieved. It became a reminder of the journey that lay ahead. A journey that would require every individual, every nation, and every generation to work together, not just for survival, but for the collective advancement of the human race. As the millennium drew closer, the people of Earth continued to push forward, striving to prove themselves worthy of the stars. The progress that had been made was undeniable, but there was still much work to be done. The Great Three's challenge had been clear. Humanity had the potential for greatness, but it also had the potential for self-destruction. The future was not set in stone. It was something that had to be earned, day by day, through the choices humanity made. The clock continued to tick, and with each passing year, the stakes grew higher. Would humanity meet the expectations set before it? Would it rise to the occasion, overcoming its flaws to join the galactic community? The answer would not come easily, and the journey would be fraught with obstacles. But for the first time in history, humanity felt as though it could actually make it. In the final analysis, the judgment of the Great Three was not a simple one of approval or rejection. It was an invitation, a challenge to humanity to reach its fullest potential. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in history, humanity had hope. They had been given time, but that time was not infinite. The question now was not whether the Great Three would return, but whether humanity would be ready. It was a question that echoed through every corner of the earth. The stars were no longer unreachable. They were within humanity's grasp. But whether or not they could claim their place among them remained to be seen. The clock was ticking, and humanity had 1,000 years to prove it was worthy of the future that lay ahead.